Hey you, how have you been doing? And welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome to A Gentleman's Guide to Cosy Living, where I explore a variety of topics. Today's topic is to unfold how we can make loneliness work for ourselves. Although through certain parts of our life, we might have some lonely periods. They can be short or long moments, they can be frequent or they can be rare, depending on who you are. And for me personally, I have had many lonely periods in my life. I did have quite a lonely childhood before secondary school or high school. Growing up, I had no siblings at the time, and during primary school, I did feel a little bit lonely. Um, I had to sort of entertain myself sometimes or most of the time. And if you are like a lonely child like myself before I had the siblings, you would have to become comfortable with being alone and also comfortable in your own thoughts. I think that's one thing that a lot of people are hesitant or worried or scared about is that if they're alone, they'll start to think of the thoughts in their head, and rather than just sit with them, they just want to be distracted by them. And sometimes that can be for the worse and for the better for yourself. And if you can resonate, you know that you can cope with being alone. But for those who may not be able to resonate with this and who struggle to be alone, it can be quite hard. And so now, when I had my lonely moments growing up, it was hard, to be honest. And I think I'm sure, whoever you speak to, they will also say it is also hard. But now, as an adult, I do have a lot of close friends, as well as I know the circumstances of what I'm in and be able to understand them as I've gotten older. But I cope better and thrive more being alone. So, how can I make you not feel alone when being alone? Well, this is just the cozy guide to cover that. And on a side note, the reason why I'm touching on this subject is that there was a report released by the National Office of Statistics, and it reported that 33% of 16 to 29-year-olds felt lonely often, always, or sometimes, and I think it's an important topic to touch upon. Though in the time of social media and online connection, there have been a lot of reports of young people who feel lonely, and 1 in 3 of them still felt alone, even though they had a large amount of friends. And that is the issue right there. Having so many friends that you feel lonely. And I don't know if you've heard of the saying, but I'd rather be alone than feel lonely in a relationship. And that also includes your friendships as well. And so, have you ever felt drained when you've been with someone, or if you have arranged to meet up with a friend, but you are starting to regret meeting them, or you just don't want to meet them, then you should really analyze those friendships. Can you fix them? Can you talk about it to them? And if it gets to a point where you feel like you can't talk about it or discuss it, then maybe it is just time to naturally let go of them and that they aren't really fulfilling you as an individual. Because if someone's taken all of your energy to exist, then you're feeling more alone than you should be, and that shouldn't be the case either. And we need to replace those friends with those who have a better understanding of who you are as an individual, and vice versa, you understanding them and how they work. And then that is one thing where you can feel less lonely. For me, I have a lot of close friends up and down the UK, and even though we are miles apart, I know I don't feel lonely because I know I can reach out to them and talk to them, and sometimes I can meet up with them more than once during the year. And so, still having that makes me feel like I'm not always alone. And so, how do I feel the time with in my life where I actually don't have anyone around me, and that is establishing some hobbies or some interests. So the times I felt most productive is either from doing three things, and that would be a physical activity, a creative activity, and a self-reflection activity. And sometimes we are just glued onto our phones, and I'm not going to make you feel guilty for that because I already feel guilty doing it most of the time. And I think we feel guilty for doing that because we have filled that time to relax after work, or we are commuting between two different places, whether that's work, leisure, etc. And so we have established that easy life of just being able to just block everything out of what's going on. But we don't fully block out everything because when we see the news or whatever's going on social media, we still feel that sense of dread or anything that is going through you at that time. And so I think it's important to establish some form of hobby. And your hobby should be an easy one. So, for example, I like to read because I want to get back into it. And it's an easy thing where I can take it no matter where I am. And so, me and you, we need to establish a hobby that can be done from the comfort of your home or when you are traveling, and we are replacing screen time to me time, or in this case, you time. And the issue many of us face, myself included, is using and relying on social media for validation. And I think when you are someone who is alone and you are wanting to be with people all the time, you are trying to seek out comfort and reliance and validation from other people, but that should come from yourself. And I think by establishing a hobby, you are getting that validation, that effort, that connection more from your own personal achievement, whether that is being creative, whether that is reading, whether that is being active, by doing something that is productive in the sense of gives you enjoyment, not monetization. It can actually help you more and feel less alone as well. And even establishing an easy hobby like reading, you will find other like-minded people who like reading, and so already you are going to be part of a community of people who have the same interests as you. And I think that's quite a beautiful thing with social media because you can establish those interests as long as you aren't relying again on the people to feel validated, to feel secure, to feel happy. That should all come from yourself. And that is something I've had to learn very slowly in my life. And it's something that I'm glad that I've been able to walk through as well. And so I liked this post that I found on Pinterest as it gave both a creative and productive ideas. And so, for any of you who are wanting to be productive without having to feel productive, it's a nice sense of, oh, there's hobbies that I can actually feel that and get the endorphins and dopamine from that as well. I wanted to get back into reading as I really enjoyed it in my childhood, and I know I've talked about this a lot on my channel and in previous A Gentleman's Guide to Cosy Living series, especially the video of why man should get back into reading as well. And the reason why I managed to be able to get back into reading, I've been a little bit slacking lately, so it's okay. But I decided to habit stack it again. That's the thing that I mentioned in a previous episode of the series, which you can watch after this video. And I habit stacked this by going to the gym, and then I'd go to my cafe, have my latte, read my book, do my food shopping, and that to me just grounds me a little bit more. And it's part of the three things being creative. I think personally, reading a book is being creative still because you have that use of imagination. And for me, that also helps with getting ideas, and depending on what you read as well, you can establish more opinions of the world from the help of an author. So that's not too bad, really. And like I said, I like to be in a cafe. And yes, I am alone, but I'm not fully alone. Now, when it comes to shared spaces, I think for a lot of people, they don't want to be seen as being alone or a loner. And I think that stems a lot from childhood trauma, possibly. And I think that is an issue in itself. We are a social species per se, but we also need that alone time, I think, now more than ever as well. And so if you are someone who doesn't like the idea of going somewhere by themselves, I do have a few ideas of what you can do instead. And so by going to a shared space, you aren't really alone. And if that is your fear of being in a space by yourself, I think going to a cafe, going to a museum, those are good spaces to start that off and to build that confidence of being okay with being by yourself. Going to a cafe, reading a book is one good one, or journaling in a cafe. Sometimes I've even just sat down at a cafe and I just watched people go by because I do like people watching as well. But if you are someone, again, who doesn't like to be in their own head but still wants that alone time but not alone time, if that makes sense, then I think going a museum of any choice, whether it's an art gallery or a historical museum or a natural history museum or a science museum, whatever you are interested in, you can just read the things that are there and just look at the things there, and then you aren't distracted by the thoughts in your head. And when the time is right for you, you can actually write those things down. And I recommend taking a journal and the pencil case with you, whatever you want to use, even if it's just a pen as well. And then just writing those things down and being more comfortable doing that. And doing that in a shared space is easier than doing it at home by yourself, because then you aren't feeling so enclosed and so encaved and wanting to just curl up. And being more comfortable with yourself allows you to be less alone when you are alone, or when, if that makes sense. So for me, that has helped, and I'm not sure if it will help you as well. But if it doesn't, I do have one more idea for you. When it comes to the next part, it's about joining some sort of club or group, and I think that will also help you a lot. Now, for me personally, I'm not part of any sports group or social group. However, by going to the gym, for me, I have established a few acquaintances at the gym, and as well as friends. And the reason why I say that is because when you want to, or trying to cope with being alone but not feeling lonely, I'm trying to give ideas where you can still be part of a group who has the same common goal as yourself, and then you aren't being alone. But when it comes to being in your own home setting, I do think it's important to try and establish at least an easy hobby, whether that is reading, painting, drawing, journaling, etc. And I know for a lot of men, we have been led growing up that those are feminine things to do, when in reality they are not. Some of the people with the best ideas and the best creations have been people who are being creative. And I can probably guarantee that they were also alone in their own thoughts as well, and have come up with some amazing ideas, techniques, inventions, etc. And so who knows, when you are journaling or when you're drawing, you could come up with something new, whether it's just something simple. It might not be able to change society, it might not change the world, but it can change who you are as an individual just to make yourself a little less lonely and more appreciation of being in that space where you can feel that you are just calm and you are just present with yourself as well. And so, if you are new here and you fancy sticking around, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I try to upload this series once a month here on the channel. And if you have returned back, thank you for watching this episode. I hope you have enjoyed it. I try to make these as nice and quick as possible and straight to the point as well. If you have any ideas of what you'd like me to touch upon, do leave a comment down below. And hey, if you have reached this far, you are in the top 1% of people who have watched the whole video entire through. And I want you to leave an emoji down below of something that represents your favorite hobby or activity to do when you're by yourself. And I shall see you in the next video.